As I mentioned, I'm a pipe carrier, which is a private thing for me. Over the years, I have had small ceremonies where I offer the pipe. It's a women's pipe. It is not. I am not Lakota trained. I'm not native trained. My tradition came from Evelyn Eaton, who was Paiute trained, but she was a white woman. And my sacred pipe came to me through my women's circle. And I've been carrying it since I was 50 years old, so about, well, maybe it'll be before I was 50, so 15 years or so. And praying with the pipe is praying to the seven directions. When I started praying to the seven directions, and I also have, for many years, I've had a whole room that is an altar room that is set up to the directions. So I sit in my altar room, and I can pray to the seven directions with altars created for each of the directions. It's very powerful. And so I've learned a lot about altars as doorways. I've learned a lot about the directions as doorways, as gateways, and about who and what lives behind those doorways, and how when you open the doorway and it becomes a two-way thing, so they can come in and you can go out. This is very helpful because when you learn the spiritual directions, north, south, east, west, above, below, center, you understand the archetypes and the guides that live with them. And so you are able to, when you recognize, hey, I'm in a West Gate situation, I'm overly emotional, I can't seem to, stop crying, or, I'm entrenched in trying to let go of so much in my life. How much do I have to let go of? Are you kidding me? One more transformation? What is this about? Oh, I might be having a West Gate lesson. Then you can turn your focus on the West Gate, get in there, and call in the guides you need to help you with these situations in your life. So this has been very important to me, these spiritual directions. And this is something I've done, all of this began in the mid-90s for me, about really understanding it. Even though all those times in Wyoming when I would lay outside and look up at the stars, I slept outside every night in the summer as a child by myself with a sleeping bag. I got to go camping. I knew the mountains. I could drink out of freshwater streams. Of course, I had all my rocks. I collected lizards and kept them in the window wells of our house, drove my poor mother crazy. And so I knew about all these things. I just didn't know how to put them together. And I wanted to be able to teach this to people because it had been so incredibly powerful for me. So in 2007, I offered this class. It's called Spiritual Directions, A Path of Initiation. And 7 people signed up. We started in January. We finished on July 7th, 2007, 7 people in the class. And we spent a month between each direction because I wanted the people in the class to interact with the direction during the month. I didn't want them to go home and go, oh yeah, next week, yeah, we're doing that one. It was homework. It was life work. It's soul work. And the next month would come together and I'd say, well, so how was this month? And everybody had these amazing stories about what happened to them that was related to that direction. And they would all be the same. When we did the South Gate, they all unbelievable, for instance. So it was a powerful course, and I would spend the month doing it with them because I'd never taught the course before either. And I'm also waiting for the guides to download me with the spirit journeys, with the information. And I remember before one of them, it was the day before class, and they hadn't given me anything yet. And I was pretty panicked. I've been doing everything I could, begging, pleading, rituals, offerings, nothing. No info. And so in desperation, I went to Lowe's. I was building a little patio with patio blocks, and I have this huge cart in Lowe's filled with bags of sand and these stacks of patio blocks, and they start downloading me in the middle of Lowe's. And I remember I looked up and I said, so now you give it to me? And some poor guy, with a hammer sticking out of his pocket looks at me, and I'm like, oh, you're in Lowe's. You can't talk like this in Lowe's. And they said, oh, don't worry, you'll remember it. And so I came home, I remembered it, frantically typing it all out. So this was a very interactive class, not only from the students, but for me as well. So spiritual directions, a path of initiation, starts out with a spirit journey taking you to your etheric altar or sacred circle. This sacred circle, because we build altars for each of the directions, so it could be a small altar, it could be a huge medicine wheel. Mine looked more like a medicine wheel. It's where you go to do the work. It's not in your house, it's not in Gloria's house, it's not in my house. It's your spirit sacred circle. And you learn to journey there. So the first time you go, for my students, it turned this way. This is what I was told it would be, and that's how it worked for them. At first, it was just kind of a blank circle. And then each month, we would open one of the gates. So for the west, we would open the gate, and we called in Bear. And Bear would come through the gate, and the water would come through the gate. And depending on what all we talked about and did, these things came through the gate, and they anchored in the sacred circle. And the west gate opened. Then we would do the north. We called in Buffalo. We called in the ancestors. We called in the mountains and the snow. The north gate would open. All that comes in. It anchors in your sacred circle. So the next time you go back to it, you walk in, you walk around the circle. Oh, there's the west gate open. All that stuff is there. All those people are there, all around the circle. So that by the time we did above and below, you have a very full circle. All the gates are open. Many guides are there, many lessons are there, many gifts are there. And when I do spirit journeys, I always offer gifts to the guides at the end, and they always give you gifts. That's the way we do it. By the time we come to the center, everything gets woven together in the center, and Grandmother Spider does that. And so we have big, major spider energy for the center that weaves everything together. So by the time you're done, you have learned only the basics of the directions, because there's no way I can spend an hour calling in the directions, and Gloria knows I've done that many times. There's so many layers to them all. We have a very basic beginning, and then also in the course I give you about a page of journal opportunities that are related to that direction. So you have things to maybe write on, work on, activities to do while you're working with that gate. You might spend a month in between, you might choose to spend a week in between, or you might come back to them later, but we have journal opportunities in there that give you a chance to explore through writing, through art, through experience, through meditation, other ways that you can connect. And the energy of the gates is going to be very specific to what is going on for you. The main guardians are always there.
Nothing, it's just you froze for a moment.
Yeah, they're freezing a little bit here. The guardians are always there. The energies are always there. The archetypes are always there. But they layer down so much. And they'll be very specific for what you need. So at some time, you might go through the south gate and expect coyote, and you might get Sekhmet instead. Or you might get swan, or you might get mouse. You might get a lesson on relationships. You might get a lesson on power. You might get a lesson on, the great old mirror, how you look at people and see all the things in them you don't like about yourself. So it depends on where you are, what you need to do, how you're asking, but this class teaches you to be in relationship with the guides, to be in relationship with these directions. Nutshell.
Okay, so as we